So I finally got done watching the best show ever. It was amazing. So last year around this time of the year I did a video called Which Show is Better, The Office vs. Parks and Recreation. And I still get a lot of notifications for that, and I figured, hey, I should do another video in the same realm as that, but just a little bit more complex with more dramatic elements to them. So, quick note here. I watched Breaking Bad in the summer of 2013, and I realized that Season 5B was going to air in September. So I wanted to get the series done before that first episode aired, and I did. And I got to watch the final 8 episodes as they aired, and it was amazing. But I can assure you I'd be pulling my hair out if I had to wait a whole year between. So I'm kind of glad I watched in the summer of 2008. Now with The Wire, I don't think I knew that The Wire existed until about 2 years after it was off the air. So around 2010, 2011. And I prolonged that because getting a hold of HBO shows is really, really difficult. And I watched the first 2 seasons like online illegally, and it just I don't like doing that. I don't think you get the full impact. Then finally I came across, as a gift, I got the Wire series for Christmas, and I killed all 5 seasons in like a month. So yeah, I finished that show. So finally the debate can be put to rest here between which show is better out of these 2 magnificent, marvelous shows. And if you've seen my Office vs. Parks, I basically went season by season. That's what today is kind of going to be like. Of course, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but basically season by season because both shows have 5 seasons. Okay, Breaking Bad Season 1. It only has 7 episodes, and I forgot what happened. I think it might have had to do with the writer's strike, but I don't think it was as long as what they wanted it to be. So, you got a lot of loose ends at the end of the season, not a lot of big payoffs at the end of the season. But with that being said, you get 2 well-developed characters in Walt and Jesse, and an intriguing storyline right from the beginning, like right from the opening 10 seconds. You're like, I'm in for this ride. It also got a major Emmy win, Bryan Cranston, and it does have a lot of dark comedy in it, while still playing to, the dramatics. This guy has cancer, and he has to do these awful things in order to make money for his family after he dies. And that's the premise of the story. And like I said, you get to know 2 characters. Down the road, you get to know a lot more characters. But here, it's basically just Walt and Jesse. More so just Walt. I mean, you like Jesse, but I don't think you know as much about him as you know about Walt. So season 1 is perfectly fine. It's arguably the weakest season, and it's not their fault. It's 7 episodes. Like I said, not a lot of big payoffs at the end, but it's still an exciting, darkly comedic season that gets you excited for things to come in the future. Now, season 1 of The Wire is 12 episodes, so it is a full and complete season. And a lot of the complaints I hear about The Wire, and maybe even from me, I don't quite remember because I started it a couple years ago, is that it's so slow and people don't really get invested in it that quickly. And that's just something you're just gonna have to get through. Because trust me, when it comes to characters and development, there are too many characters to even talk about, and they're all well developed. To name the main ones, you got McNulty, Bunk, Omar, Stringer Bell, Wallace, which Wallace comes into play later in the season, and of course you got Avon Barksdale, D'Angelo Barksdale, and these are characters that you care about, especially D'Angelo, and McNulty is obviously the main character in this. Like, The Wire is a really, really hard show to talk about, so just kind of bear with me. Like I said, it starts slow, but it builds on its environment and the premise quite beautifully, especially towards the end of the season. It's really moody and realistic, but still has moments of humor. It takes a few episodes to get to know the characters a little bit more, but when you do, you start laughing at the things that they're saying. I'd say in the first episode there's a couple laughs, but as the series goes on, and as this season goes on, there's more laughs along the way. It got no big major awards, because The Wire just didn't get a lot of awards through its runtime. It just didn't. I think it got a couple writing Emmys, but that's about it. It didn't get a lot of attention in terms of that. But I'd say in terms of payoff compared to Breaking Bad, this had a much bigger payoff because it was a complete season. It's a full story. This first season is a full story about the drug trade. and it completes it in every possible way while giving us intriguing characters that we don't want to see die. We want to follow these characters for 20 seasons, even though there's only 5 seasons. So when a character dies that we care about, it hurts. It hurts a lot because the show is so soaked in reality. So I'd say compared side by side, season 1 of The Wire is bigger and better because it is a complete season. It's not necessarily Breaking Bad's fault, blame it on the writers, I guess. Moving on to season 2 of Breaking Bad, which has a huge opening episode, which feels completely continuous from the last episode of season 1. But I'd say after that huge episode and that huge climax that happens in the episode, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, it takes a little bit of a slow peak there. It gets a little slow. Not necessarily a bad thing, The Wire is slow. It's amazing. So Breaking Bad can be slow and still reach out to probably more people than The Wire. There's more developed characters in Skyler and Hank. Walter slowly becomes the most interesting character in the history of television, as we all know, with his moral dilemmas that he's put in. I'd say this is a much more sorrowful season with a lot more melancholy. There's some intense looks at drug abuse. Intense looks. There's an intense look at drug abuse, particularly in the episodes Peekaboo and Phoenix. Those episodes they're tough. In fact, they're really, really tough episodes to get through, especially those last moments of those episodes, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm trying not to get into a lot of spoilers here, because I want people that may be unfamiliar with the series to be able to watch both of these. Unlike The Office and Parks, I'm rambling. We begin to get a glimpse into what's going to happen in the future of Breaking Bad, and I'd say at the end of the season, it has a questionable payoff, but it's undeniably unpredictable. Like, you look at it like, I didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming at all. And regardless if it makes any sort of sense within the context of the series, you can always look at that and be like, yep, like that took a lot of balls to do. Now with season 2 of The Wire, we get a little bit of a disappointing start, only because it's following a radically different plotline than the first season. We soon get over that, because we're introduced to more characters, really, really well-developed characters, that dives into blue-collar workers and the desperation of needing to make money, and it ultimately turns into a poetic tragedy that we're fully invested in. The characters that we know, they grow and digress in a realistic manner, making the show a literal roller coaster of emotions. And yeah, the humor's still there, and we still get a pretty good fair share of like the drug trade stuff from season 1. It's just sort of pushed to the corner, and we still get a lot of Omar's revenge plot. Spoiler, not really spoiler, doesn't matter. But yeah, it ends in a typical Wire unpredictable manner. It's unhappy, yet we still get to see a future for a lot of these characters, even though some of them might not make it out of this season alive. It's a beautiful season that starts slow, what can I say? A lot of people adore this season a lot more on the second time through, so if you didn't like this season that much the first time, get over it and watch it again. Trust me, I've seen it a couple times now. Actually, I've seen this season 3 times now, and it does get better every time. With that being said, I have to give the slight edge to Breaking Bad. Now, season 3 of Breaking Bad starts a little slow, but then it eventually falls into this powerhouse season of all the things that we love about Breaking Bad. Some of the most popular plot lines and story arcs are in this season. There's more characters playing a bigger role. And it certainly adds to the show. You got Gus, Mike, and Saul Goodman. So yeah, you got, it's still not anywhere close to how many developed characters are in The Wire, but ultimately they're two radically different shows, I know I'm comparing them now, but they're still radically different. It's a ridiculously intense season. It really is. There's a few moments that just me thinking about right now makes me want to restart the series over again just so I can relive those moments for a 5th time, or I don't know how many times I watched it. It doesn't matter. Now, right from the get-go of season 3 of The Wire, we soon start realizing that this is the entertaining and genius show that everybody has talked about for all of our lives. And yeah, right from the get-go. Unlike the past 2 seasons where it takes some episodes, now this one you're really invested in right from the get-go, which is breath of fresh air for The Wire. Not dissing The Wire, I'm just saying, it's good to get going a little bit quicker. Yet again, more amazing characters. The characters that we followed for the first 2 seasons are really well developed by now, and we love them more than ever, you know, because the show took its time. It took its time for us to get to know them with so many characters, like so many. You could make like a top 50 favorite characters from The Wire. It was like you could honestly, no lie. Like there's so many things going on in The Wire that it's really hard to cover it all. Like it truly is. But the series begins to have a political story, and that arc grows throughout the rest of the series. You know, it's been said before that this season truly does play out like a Greek tragedy, leaving us breathless when the climax hits. Like it really does. Like, see, I didn't know a lot of things, a lot of spoilers. I knew one particular spoiler going into The Wire, and I was not looking forward to it. But this season did some things where I was like, no, like I was for sure that guy was going to make it the whole series, and The Wire's unpredictable manner hits me again in the face, and that's what's so good about The Wire. Yet again, you know, it's so hard to talk about all the things that are covered in The Wire. You got this Amsterdam plot where a police officer is basically legalizing drugs in this corner for the better of other parts of the city, and you know, for a long time it's working, and you just wonder if this is going to come back to bite him. But there's so many great things happening this season, it's impossible to truly do it any sort of justice. I'd have to watch this season 3 or 4 more times to even give you a full synopsis of it. So yeah, even though Breaking Bad is probably the more entertaining season, this season leaves me wanting to watch it again immediately after. Like after I got done watching season 3 of, I didn't want to go to season 4. I wanted to rewatch season 3. Like, thank God I watched season 4. But the second that this season was over, I was like, I want to sit down and watch this season again. Now, season 4 of Breaking Bad starts off nerve-wracking, and that tone never leaves the entire season. You know, this is the season when you realize that any character could go at any given time. There's much more development for characters like Gus and Mike, making us sympathetic for them even in their worst times. And you know, bravo writers for that. Like, it's truly genius. Arguably one of the most rewarding payoffs in television history at the end of the season. That's not to say that the stuff leading up to it is crap, because it's totally not. Like I said, this is just a dreadful season in the best possible way. You know, you're dreading everything that's happening. A lot of tension in this season. It's cinematic, it's flashy, it's somewhat cartoonish at times, especially with the climax. But it's pure entertainment with a deeper meaning than most shows, you know, and that's something that usually you can't get style with substance, you know. And the show does it, you know. It is really flashy. The production here seems better than most movies, and that's where the Breaking Bad is. That's why a lot of people think Breaking Bad's the best show ever, and this season definitely capitalizes on that with the body count, the look, the visual look, the characters, things that play out like The Godfather at times, and like Goodfellas and stuff like that, and like just like amazing. And yet the comedy is still there, even though it's not as, it's more of a nervous laughter by now because it's such a nerve-wracking season. This truly is like a masterpiece of a season. I remember I got done watching this season. I was like, Breaking Bad's over. Like, how are they gonna move on from this? Season 4 of The Wire begins with a really, really intriguing premise. It quickly becomes the best season of the show, and arguably the best season of any show ever. There's new middle school characters that we follow and sympathize, while still sympathizing with past characters, you know? You bring in these teenagers, these characters that have basically never acted before, and they kill it. Like, they absolutely kill it, you know? You get, you know, a character, I'm not going to give away the character, but you get a character that was a little bit of a screw-up in past seasons, and by now, you love him. Like, you love the things that he's doing, and you get a character that was a little bit of a screw-up last season. He's still trying to do good for the community. And yet again, actually, this season, McNulty plays a really, really limited role, and I didn't even notice it. That's how great this season is, that whenever you can push the main character, like the essential main character aside, to give these other characters like a full frontal story here, you know that means that the show is truly brilliant. The political storyline comes to a climax towards the middle of the season, but gosh, that's such a good story. Like, it's such a good story. Like, I've never been so invested in something political in my life. And like, that stuff is just as interesting as the drug trade stuff, or people getting shot, like a shootout in an alley. So, bravo yet again. This is yet again, a heartbreaking season. Probably the most heartbreaking season, because it's basically following these kids that are trying to not fall into this drug trade, even though it's all around them and their family is surrounded by it. Either if they have family or they don't have family, and either if they're rich or poor, you eventually feel bad for these characters. And if you don't, you're a liar. You're a doggone liar, and that is a fact. It still gives us a glimpse into a future villain, possibly, and a certain character that wears a headband, and a couple of his goons that are just notoriously bad. Like they're just bad. They're bad eggs. Like they really are. Now, in terms of comparing The Wire's tone to Breaking Bad, now since I spoke more about Breaking Bad's tone this season than I did in the past ones, The Wire doesn't play the theatrics like Breaking Bad. Instead creates a huge world with many layers that becomes more valuable with repeat viewings. And that is a fact. Every season gets better on a second watch. But you could maybe say the same thing about Breaking Bad, but not so much here when it comes to The Wire. It also certainly has more to say about the economy as a whole. You got drug trade, police work, blue-collar workers, the education system. This season nails the educational system. It does. And of course, the next season you talk about the media or whatever. But yeah, season 4 of The Wire is the best season of any show I've ever seen. So the final season of Breaking Bad, this is the beginning of end times. And this final season was broke up into 2 parts, which, like I said, thank God I didn't watch the first part as it aired, because I would have murdered someone, I think. But yet again, it still has the dark humor mixed with a lot of tragedy. Like a lot of tragedy. Like a lot. And there's new villains that come into the mix. Either if they come in season 5A or season 5B, they're there. They're waiting. They are there waiting for Walt and Jesse. If Walt and Jesse are still together, I don't know. I don't want to give away too much stuff here. It's a massive cliffhanger from 5A to 5B. Like a massive. Like so huge. Like, God. Like I said, it is the ultimate page-turner series. It has a ridiculously amazing final 3 episodes. Like so good. Like ridiculous. Like a really, really underrated next to last episode. Granite State. See, I know the names of these Breaking Bad. It's easier to decipher episode to episode of Breaking Bad than is The Wire. When The Wire, it's hard to... There's so much stuff going on each episode that it's hard to single out a single episode. So, radically different yet again. A very satisfying ending. That leaves us not sad, but fulfilled that we went on this journey with these characters. And, yeah, like, people die. People don't die. Really intense. Like, especially the third to last episode, as we all know, Ozymandias. That episode, man, is arguably the best episode of any television show ever. Like, it really is. I was constantly told that the 5th and final season of The Wire was by far the weakest, so maybe I just went in with low expectations, but this season kind of blew me away. Like, a little bit. Man, it might not have been as good as the last 2 seasons. That's really good, The newsroom arc isn't as strong as some of the other stuff going on, but the newsroom arc is better than most stuff going on in most television shows, and that's a fact. It's probably the most darkly comedic season. There's a serial killer plotline going on that leaves us anticipating the downfall of some characters. Like it's going to happen, but yet again you're like, The Wire is pretty unpredictable. Maybe it'll pull the carpet out from under us. But like I said, you never know. Like, it's so unpredictable that it hurts so bad when a beloved character that we follow for so long dies, like, out of nowhere. But it still feels consistent within the context of the show. That's what The Wire is. There's no score. There's no musical score happening in The Wire. It's the dialogue speaks for itself. For the emotional moments don't need emotional music in the background, and we don't need a big, like, swelling up moment before a climax hits. Like, the climax just happens. The ending basically ties all loose ends, maybe not a couple, but most of them, and shows exactly what these characters will be up to after the series goes on, making it somewhat happy yet poetic. With that being said, not everyone has a happy ending. With that being said, Breaking Bad Season 5 is better. But The Wire Season 5 gets a bad rap, though, man. It really does. It's really super good. It really is, but Season 5 of Breaking Bad is better. So if you've been keeping count, out of the 5 seasons, I gave 3 of the wins to The Wire and 2 to Breaking Bad. That doesn't ultimately mean that The Wire is better than Breaking Bad. I'm pretty fresh off The Wire. and I want to watch it again with someone new, and then I want to watch it again with someone new. Now I remember quite vividly, after I got done watching Breaking Bad, I wanted to watch it again with someone new, and I did. And then I watched it again with someone new. So in that regard, they are very similar in terms of the way that they make you feel after it's over. They're both stories that you want to follow, no matter how radically different they are, and they totally are. Like I said, Breaking Bad plays with the theatrics. It's a big show with big cinematography, and The Wire just feels it feels real. The Wire doesn't feel like a movie, whereas Breaking Bad does. The Wire just feels like real life. So right now, I'm saying that The Wire, in terms of the things that it talks about in politics, and education, and drug trade, and police work, like The Wire is just a more important show than Breaking Bad, whereas Breaking Bad is just full-on entertainment with a deeper meaning. So I'm giving the edge to The Wire just because of the things it has to say and how real it feels. Like it really is. And if you're one of these people that bashes one show because you love the other one and you haven't even watched the show, don't do that. Like, watch both shows. They're both amazing. They're both, as far as out of all the shows I've seen, they're the top 2 shows I've ever seen. And it might go back and forth between which one I think is best. But don't be one of those guys that bashes both shows. Don't be one of those guys that watches a few episodes of The Wire or Breaking Bad and says, "No, this is boring." No, it's not. Like, they're both amazing. Like, they truly are. They're both amazing for different reasons. So leave your comments below which show you think is better. I don't want any arguing, because we both know both shows are just masterpieces. Like, they really are. They're both 5 out of 5 series. So let me know which show you think is better in an intelligent manner, please. And thanks for watching.